How did a 12-minute silent film revolutionize cinema in 1903? The Great Train Robbery captivated audiences with its thrilling plot and groundbreaking techniques, setting the stage for the Western genre. Get the inside scoop on this cinematic trailblazer. In a quiet train station office, a telegraph operator and a station agent work diligently, unaware of the impending danger. Suddenly, two armed outlaws burst in, demanding the station workers to surrender. The lead outlaw forces the telegraph operator to send a coded message to the next station, alerting them of the robbery. Meanwhile, the second outlaw demands the key to the track switch from the station agent. The frightened worker points to the key on the wall, which the outlaw snatches triumphantly. The outlaws quickly tie up and gag the helpless station workers, leaving them squirming on the floor as they make their daring escape. Mounting their waiting horses, the bandits ride off into the distance, their hearts filled with excitement for the impending heist, and their minds focused on the riches that await them. The sound of galloping hooves fades away, marking the beginning of a thrilling adventure that will keep audiences on the edge of their seats. The calm before the storm. The scene shifts to the open countryside, where a majestic steam locomotive powers down the tracks, its engine churning and gears grinding in a steady, hypnotic rhythm. The train, a symbol of progress and the taming of the wild frontier, cuts through the untamed landscape, its cars filled with unsuspecting passengers and valuable cargo. Inside the mail car, the postal clerk methodically sorts through sacks overflowing with letters and packages, his mind focused on the task at hand, blissfully unaware of the danger that lurks just around the bend. He hums a tune to himself, finding comfort in the familiar routine of his work. As the train chugs along, the miles falling away beneath its iron wheels. As the locomotive continues its journey, the clerk's brow furrows in confusion as the train begins to slow unexpectedly, the steady rhythm of the engine giving way to a gradual decrease in speed. He peers out the window, his eyes scanning the dense forest that envelops the tracks, searching for any sign of trouble or explanation for the unscheduled stop. "Why are we slowing down in the middle of nowhere?" he mutters under his breath, a sense of unease settling in the pit of his stomach like a cold, heavy stone. The train lurches to a halt in a secluded clearing, the towering trees casting eerie shadows across the motionless cars, their leaves rustling in the gentle breeze. Unbeknownst to the passengers and crew, the cunning outlaws lie in wait, their trap carefully laid and their hearts pounding with anticipation. With practiced precision, they split into pairs, two of them sneaking towards the engine, their footsteps muffled by the soft earth, while the others make their way to the mail car, their eyes gleaming with the promise of untold riches. In the locomotive, the engineer and fireman are startled by the sudden appearance of armed intruders, their faces etched with a mixture of fear and confusion. "Stop the train and get down!" commands one of the outlaws, his voice cutting through the hiss of steam and the pounding of the men's hearts. The engineer, his hands trembling and his mouth dry, complies immediately, applying the brakes with a shaking hand and bringing the mighty engine to a standstill. The fireman, his face ashen and his eyes wide, throws his hands up in surrender as the bandits order them out of the cab and onto the unforgiving ground below, the cold steel of their guns pressing against the workers' backs. A valiant stand back in the mail car, the clerk's ears perk up at the sound of the commotion outside, his heart rate quickening as he hears the splintering of wood and the clatter of metal. He realizes with a sinking feeling that the door to the car is being forced open. The outlaws determined to claim the valuable contents within. With trembling hands, he reaches for the revolver hidden in his desk drawer. A bead of sweat trickling down his temple as he crouches behind a wall of mail bags, his breathing shallow and rapid. The door flies open with a resounding bang, and a gruff, menacing outlaw steps inside, his eyes darting around the car, searching for any sign of resistance. "Come out with your hands up!" he bellows, his voice echoing off the metal walls and sending a shiver down the clerk's spine. Silence hangs heavy in the air, broken only by the thundering of the clerk's heart in his ears and the distant sound of the train's whistle. As the bandit moves further into the car, the clerk leaps from his hiding spot, firing his revolver. The outlaw, stunned by the sudden resistance, reels back as a fierce gunfight erupts. Bullets ricochet off the walls in a chaotic symphony of violence and desperation. "Get him!" yells the second outlaw as he rushes to join the fray, his own gun drawn and his eyes blazing with fury. Outnumbered and outgunned, the brave Clark fights valiantly, his determination and sense of duty driving him to protect the male at all costs. But the odds are stacked against him, and a searing pain rips through his body as a bullet finds its mark, tearing through flesh and bone. He crumples to the floor, his life's blood pooling beneath him, a crimson stain spreading across the wooden planks. The outlaws, their faces twisted with malice and greed, descend upon the mail car like vultures, ransacking the sacks and boxes, smashing open locked compartments, and stuffing their sacks with bundles of cash and glittering valuables. They work quickly and efficiently, their movements honed by years of lawless living, and their hearts devoid of mercy or compassion. As the train comes to an abrupt halt, confusion and fear grip the unsuspecting passengers. They whisper anxiously, wondering about the sudden stop, while the conductor tries to reassure them, his own words ringing hollow. Suddenly, two armed outlaws burst into the passenger car, their guns gleaming menacingly. Women scream, clutching their children, as men try to shield their loved ones. The bandits move through the aisle, barking orders and demands, ripping jewelry from trembling hands and snatching purses. An elderly woman clings to her handbag, but an outlaw wrenches it away, laughing cruelly as he tosses it onto the pile of loot. The conductor attempts to intervene, pleading for mercy, but is met with a brutal pistol whip, sending him crumpling to the floor. In the next car, a defiant young woman tries to hide a cherished locket, but the outlaws, their senses sharp, easily find it. With a gun to her head, she reluctantly surrenders the keepsake, a tear rolling down her cheek. As the outlaws finish their ruthless plundering, the passengers huddle together in shocked silence, their once peaceful journey shattered. The sound of galloping hooves fades as the bandits escape, leaving behind a trail of broken lives and stolen dreams. But the story doesn't end here, dear viewers. In the next thrilling episode, a determined posse forms, vowing to bring the outlaws to justice. Will the long arm of the law prevail, or will the gang vanish into the wilderness with their ill-gotten gains? Don't miss the next installment of this gripping tale on Unexplained Studios. What do you think will happen next? Will the posse catch the outlaws, or will they escape?